Welcome back to another installment, guys. This time I'd like to add a little bit of movement to our pink stars which are falling in lines, and I'd also like to add some multiplayer stuff. I remember at some point I said we're going to test this out as a multiplayer app, right? Just a game. So as you can see, what I've done here is I went to go read about WebSockets. You see my browser over there for the documentation. I copied a little bit of code from here, and then on top of that I just did a normal install here. Where is it? There. Pip install WebSockets. That's how you get WebSockets on your machine. I apologize about this line. I've got a little bit better lighting this time, but my laptop's lid sits exactly here, so I can't lean over anymore. But as you can see, I've got a plain boring WebSocket connect to localhost. I'd like to run that somewhere other than my local machine, but for now I'll have to do it like this. I'll copy the echo server from the WebSocket example. You can see the documentation over here. This is just websocket.readthedocs.io. en stable, which means whatever the stable version of WebSocket is. I believe right here you can see it's compatible with Python 3.8, 3.9, 3.10, 3.11. I'm not sure which version of this library this is, but this will tell us WebSockets 12.0 that we have installed here. So that's what we got: Python 3.12, Pygame 2.2, and WebSockets 12.0. So I've just stuck this over here. I believe the connect is going to block, the send is going to block, and the receive is going to block. So I'll need to get the server up and running so that I can just do this little bit of boilerplate over here before we actually start putting sprites and things on the screen. I just wanted to figure out what's the socket code going to look like. I'm not happy with how this looks, so I will be extracting the stars and colors into its own class. So just bear with me for a couple of seconds while I just take that over to its own class and then import the class over here so that I can actually get something reasonable running. I want the entry point over here. This is the entry point with the main game loop. I want this to be a little bit cleaner, because once I start adding the code to process inputs from WebSocket and send information over there, it's going to become messy very, very quickly. So just give me 1 second to get the refactoring over the line, and then we can come back and look at this. So before I get too far, I just want to show what I'm doing. You can see over there I've got my original file folio.py. I've created a new one, starsbg.py, according to pep8. All lowercase file names should be fine, and again, for just correctness according to how I do all other languages, I'd like to do capitalized first letter and then camel case from there on. It's not exactly camel case, but I like doing it like this. This is the formal method that we've adopted on the Microsoft side and on the C++ side. I do this in PHP as well, as is the convention, and I like doing it in Python as well, although I do follow whatever conventions I find in the code base. Since I am creating this code base myself, I can add these little idiosyncrasies. It's not exactly 100% correct, but I mean not really a big deal, right? So over here you can actually see I'm trying to do just to refactor. I've ripped the code out of here, and I'm just trying to create a class here that does this. So when we instantiate the class, we tell it, hey, here's the number of stars, the number of colors. I'm just setting some members inside here, member variables. So part of this class would be a num stars and a num colors property. And then over here I just added the generator. So I'll refactor this a little bit, get rid of all these little oddnesses here, and then clean this up a little bit nice, better. And what we do have here is an opportunity also to just clean this up. I don't like this key value pairs. I'd like to do a proper object, same as this. So I'm just going to create a little star class that just has the I guess I might not even need Pygame if I just do if I pass in a width and a height, and then create this object in such a way that it doesn't actually need this. But for the colors, I'm probably going to need the same. Okay, give me a second to think about it. and then I'll show you what I refactor it into. Okay, so this is a little bit closer to what I wanted. As you can see, I've just gotten rid of the red by changing this to using self screen width and screen height, which I've added onto the constructor. Over here we call it the underscore, which I think in quick Python speak it's called dunder. So we'd say dunder init, right? So double underscore dunder init represents the constructor, which you'd find in other languages. So yeah, in the constructor we just take the number of stars and number of colors. This obviously is configurable from externally, and then the actual screen width and height, which again, as you would recall from the last time, we just selected as what is the largest possible screen we can get, what is the largest possible display mode we can get on the primary monitor. So again, just a quick refresher there, still using the generator function, generate I, and then the generate color I, which then gives us this Pygame color, and then this little object, which again I don't like. I'm just going to refactor this over into a star. For the sake of brevity, it is now 5:30. I would like to stick both classes into the same file, but that is bad form. Let's see what I can do about this. Give me a second. Okay, so as you can see, I've done a little bit of refactoring. I commented this out. I created this stars background class, which imports star. I just set a bunch of attributes. These are all the things we were setting externally. And then I moved the generator and the container for the stars into this stars background class. So all this does is you instantiate it, you tell it, this is the number of stars I want you to draw, this is how many layers I want you to contain, this is the screen width and height that we're going to be working with, and then it just does all the hard work of instantiating, bounds checking, blah blah blah. It has its own generator, and then here I've added a draw function that just takes a handle to the surface, the screen surface, and the delta time value, and literally I copy pasted the code over that actually drew it from outside. So you can see I've just modified it to access its own members. The star position is no longer a text-based lookup, it's an actual just property, named property. This code is still exactly the same as how I had it. Here again it says if it runs off the height of the screen, then just reset it to 0, so it has that same kind of cycling effect. It's nothing major going on there. And then for star.py, you can see it's literally just a container for all those properties. It's got a position, which is exactly the same as calculated as how it previously was. The layer again calculated the same as how it previously was. Color is slightly different. It has a little bit of randomness to it. Not a lot, really not a lot. For the red and the blue, right? Nothing too crazy. So again, just cleaned it up a little bit, separated these things out into classes, so I don't have to worry about this too much, because now on the main I can focus on just doing what needs to be done. So here you can see I've just got import the stars background from the file stars.bg as I've named it, and then inside this file I say import the star class from the star.py file. So nothing crazy. Now time to focus on getting WebSockets up and running. Yeah, this has been simplified to a single draw call, and this is still just the key press check for am I moving or am I hitting the escape key. So again, nothing crazy. Here we flip the display and then we do the delta time calculation. So this has gone down from X amount of lines. It's actually come down to a little bit less. I want to separate this out into its own file, so I'll be doing this quickly. I don't have a lot of time. I don't want to do a super long video, so let me refactor this away into its own file, and then I'll come back when I've got the server up and running. So I'm just looking at this code. I tried commenting this out here, and I'm not sure why, but the moment I do that and click on the screen anyway, it just stops dead. So not really sure what's going on. I'm guessing the event dot or the key get pressed and the event dot get are dependent on each other. I'll check the docs later, but I'm going to extract this out into handle event function. As you can see here, I'm saying I'd like to import the falling client, which is the WebSocket client, from falling client itself. And over here I just did a simple silly thing. You can see I've actually set up some code for what I want this class to do, but I'm not really happy that this just sits on the main thread, so to speak. Python does support first class threads, but I'm not happy that this sits on the main thread like this. I'd like to maybe make it async and let it run in the background, and then just query it, maybe push received events onto a queue of some sort. I'll do a little bit of research, but it is now yeah, it's close to 6 o'clock, so just give me a couple of minutes and then I'll try and get this over the line. Nothing too major has happened. I just extracted this out into its own function, handle events. So now before I do this, I'd like to just do handle events here, in hopes that I can get this loop down to the bare minimum. Obviously there's still going to be some client-side code, all kinds of stuff in there, but I don't want it to actually work that way. I want to create a player object that understands how it works, or at least a coordinator object. I'm not really strictly following MVC here. As you can see, it's a little bit all over the place, but I will straighten it up as I go along. Right now I'm just in the discovery phase. I'm just tinkering and playing with it, so we're building the road we're walking on as usual. Again, trying to save time. It is still before 6, so let me see what I can do in these couple of minutes before I hit the end of my time box. Okay, I don't know how much further I'm going to go with this right now, but as you can see, I've got the server up and running. The server doesn't receive the connection close yet because I'm not killing the client cleanly. But as you can see, I am sending a message to the server. So let me just show you the code for the server over here. I've stuck it in the same folder with everything else. So you'll see there's falling stars, PG star, falling client, and then falling server, right? On the server side, you can see it's just got the echo. It's a very straightforward echo server. I'm only serving with that single echo function on port 8765. This will obviously become an issue when you run it on different machines, but this is all just localhost, so this is fine. Do not have to open any ports on the firewall, anything like that, so that's fine. Yeah, I create the server and then just async IO run server main. So not very basic. This obviously will change to a different method name, and I'm going to use the JSON stringify and deserialize functions to be able to interpret and send information from the server to the client. Right now what I want is a ship essentially that flies on the I'm guessing either we'll be doing a battle arena, like a tank battle arena, where you get to choose the tank is either on the left or right side of the screen based on who connects first. The first person to connect will most likely be the leftmost tank, so that'll have to be negotiated with the server. So there's going to be a little bit of state that I have to add to the server. And then on the client side, let's close this welcome tab. On the client side, again, just handle events. There was a bug. I didn't declare running as global, so this running wasn't actually being affected, which is why I wasn't getting the close correctly here. And then on the on this side, we just handle the events. I've literally just extracted it as is. We still fill the screen with black. We draw the stars on the screen. We flip, and then we just do the delta time. And then right at the end here, I try to do a client disconnect after Pygame quit. I'm not sure if I need to flip these around. They should be fairly independent, but we'll see what happens. And then on the side, the falling client. This I don't like. I don't like this because this isn't how I envisioned this to work. So I'm guessing I'll just ignore the enum status for now, right? Yeah, let's ignore the enum status. I will use actual events, like full-on events. I'll serialize and deserialize events on the player. Now it'll be inside this client. I'll create an event that gets passed out of here. The event will contain things like a, not sure yet. Haven't really bothered, but at this point this should work. Okay, let's see what happens if I try and exit this. If I hit that, there we go. So let's try that again. Python falling.py. It should start up, and you can still see this is the last thing I highlighted for you before I minimize the window. As you can see, it's not handling the disconnect cleanly, not at all. But again, yeah, I've got the received the message, so this is the last state. I need to handle the disconnects more cleanly on the server side because I want the server to be a little bit safer. So yeah, this is kind of where I've gotten. So we've got the init, we've got the receive, we've got the disconnect. The disconnect works as expected. So if you take a look over here, I can't do anything from this point on, but once I disconnect, this should, interesting, this just worked. There we go. It takes a little bit of time to disconnect, but it actually does disconnect. Am I disconnecting cleanly? 1 second worth of disconnect, so it waits up to 1 second before it just terminates the connection on the client side without the clean disconnect on the server side. And let's see what happened. Yeah, there you can see there's a bit of an exception over there, so I need to handle that exception cleanly, and then I'd like to start handling or creating at least a player 1 and a player 2 class. My initial thought for this was player 1 would be not really sure. I'm thinking tank battle, but I'm also not thinking tank battle. Tank battle can become fairly complex. Maybe space battleship. Let me think a little bit more about the type of game we're going to implement. This one was just to clean things out a little bit and then add the WebSocket capability. We're not using the capability yet. As you can see, the falling client itself just sends a hello world, which the server echoes back to it. I'm still not entirely convinced, right? I never ever call receive, so whatever comes back from the server, it just sits there queued up. So we'll probably end up writing the player class next and then start tying things together. I'd like to add sprites onto the player class so that we can actually draw the sprites correctly, and then I'd like to create a scene class which actually composes everything together. The reason I'd like to do that is because the scene would then manage what's being rendered at any given point. I'll probably end up creating a scene manager and a couple of screens, like a start screen, player selection screen, wait for second player screen, all that kind of jazz, and report back here in a couple of minutes if I have time. It is fairly late. It's 6:15 now, so just give me a couple of minutes to look at it and see if I can come up with something usable. Okay, that took way too long, and also for some reason it's ridiculously slow. I don't know if you guys can see it, but yeah, this is not going smoothly at all. I'll have to debug and diagnose, but as you can see, I am rendering text. I'm very happy about it. The way that that's so big. I'll have to instrument this, but my word, that was a mission. So I created a scene manager, right? You can say I just stuck the scene manager in. I don't think I'm using random anymore. Let me just take this random library out here. Okay, so I created a scene manager. If you look at the scene manager just imports Pygame, and then it imports a bunch of stuff. So over here, from scenes, loading scene, blah blah blah. Then I move the star's background into the scene manager because the scene manager is responsible for drawing the scene at any given time. I made a decision that all scenes in the game will share one background, so it just has one star's background. Nice and easy. Here I create a font. Pygame requires this font to be created like this. Don't know why. Here I create a list of scenes or set of scenes. I set the current scene to 0 so I can index them. So scene 0 would be this first loading scene. I need to refactor this to be either a config object which would shorten the argument list, or I should pass the scene manager into the scene so that the scene can extract information from the scene manager, things like the width and height, right? Not entirely sure if I want to do it that way. Not entirely sure if I just want to do a base class and then every scene extends from there. That way this is coherent and enforced. Yeah, I think I'll go that way. I'll do a base class and then extend from it. I set the current scene to 0, and then here in the draw call I first draw the stars, and then afterwards I draw the current scene, so self current scene. My intention here is that as you perform different events or whatever in the game, you will then progress forward or backwards using the scene index, right? So I'd like to then say once everything's loaded, we'll move the scene index to 1, so then it will start drawing the player waits scene, and then from the player waits scene, you are obviously whichever player you are, and whoever then needs to join up onto the server so that the server has its 2 players. I'm not entirely sure if I want to make a server part of a client so that you can play just on the LAN without having a dedicated server, but again, for educational purposes I think this is fine, just having a separate server. For the different scenes, let me take you into the loading scene. Let me show you what the file structure is. Over here I've got a scenes folder, and inside I've had to stick this init.py in here, which allows me then to do this, the Python scene manager then allows you to do this, to say scenes is a module. I put init.py inside the module folder, and then I can say from the module loading scene file import the loading scene class, and this is the loading scene class. As you can see, it does not inherit from anywhere. I'm not using Pygame directly, I'm just using the objects and assuming these things are in here. I should definitely import Pygame. I should put the little hash bang or the shebang line, all those kinds of stuff. But again, yeah, just the plain boring thing. I would love for this font rendering and everything just to take place a single time, and I would like for the screen split to work a little bit better. I don't like the fact that it's becoming slower now that I've drawn text on the screen. If we just do this, I'd like to I'd like to see what happens if I do this. It was incredibly slow when we looked at it earlier. Oh yeah, that it doesn't like the fact that I don't have an instruction after the indentation. So let's see what happens when I do this. As you can see how smoothly the stars are moving, it looks like I'm getting a little bit of movement, right? And then over here, if I just move that there and put the blit function back for the text, right? So here I've got the text, which is whatever the font rendered, and the text rect, which is just the rectangle around it. I've centered the rectangle on the screen, so I expect this to blit this text over here in the green and the blue colors. It could be this lookup. This could be what's slowing it down. I'll have to read the Pygame documentation, but for now let's see if it was just a fluke that it was so slow. Definitely struggling a bit. Can you see? It's fairly slow. It's a bit on the slow side, but that is a that's an adventure for the next time. For now, what we've done is we've created a module folder and stuck a couple of classes in there. We've created a scene manager. We've refactored some of the drawing out into the scene manager. We've created a scene background class to draw the stars. So we just tell it, there you go, this is the width and height, the number of stars, the number of layers I expect you to have, and draw, right? That's all you do. From that point on, we've now created these scenes, and the scenes basically give us these little transitionary events from one dedicated place, one dedicated drawing kind of setup to the next. You'll see that differentiation come into play in the next episode. I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's already 24 minutes worth of video, and it's way after 6. I sat and spent a fair amount of time typing. So I'm going to commit this code. Let's see. Still not getting errors there, so I'm going to commit this code. Where's my terminal? I don't like the fact that this takes so long to actually end, right? It does not take a specific second. It's status. So what I wanted to do was get checkout b develop get status, yeah, get add dot what's in this PyCache folder? Yeah, I don't like that. I want to create a new file, and I want to do underscore PyCache, and then I want to do star.pyc, and then save this as gitignore. Let's see. So now if I do this, yeah, you can see it's already picked up the PyC file. How do I? Let's try this. Yeah, that looks better. Oh, the .gitignore file is in the scenes directory. That's not right. In the scenes .gitignore to .gitignore. I wasn't paying attention to where I created that file, so I should have all the scenes. Why is PyCache in there? Oh, I need to do PyCache /PyCache, and then I want to say where's that gitignore file? I'm just gonna open this thing over here. So let's just be pragmatic about it. Now just unset this, right? Does that do what I want it to? Yes, it does. Falling client, falling server scene, manager, init game scene, blah blah blah, and stars BG. Perfect. Get status. Perfect, exactly what I want. So git commit in lesson 2, added scenes. I think in the next one I'll add some graphics. I'll flesh out the scene drawing and the transition between scenes. I'd like for it to be some kind of transitionary event, so I'll create a transition class potentially, and I'd definitely like to start adding sound since we now have a game, right? And we're on the develop branch, so we'll go and do pull requests and merge events later down the line. Let's just see if I can push to the origin. Yes, I've created that new develop branch, and then it even tells you a way to actually add in a pull request for this. So you can actually go and visit this and follow the link. And as always, I'll see you in the next one. Have a great one. Time to refactor at some point. Cheers.